Hi everyone, I'm Maci Yelaska, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and Secretary of Generation Connection within our Nebraska chapter. Today I'll be talking about the history of Halloween, beginning with its origin as a Celtic festival, moving on to its development in light of All Saints' Day in Colonial America, and ending with the origin of modern Halloween traditions. All information from today's video was collected from History.com. Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. The Celtics lived about 2,000 years ago, mostly in the area that's now Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France. They celebrated their new year on November 1st, marking the end of summer and the harvest, and the beginning of the cold winter, which was often associated with death. This is why the Celtics believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. Thus, on the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain, when the ghosts of the dead were believed to return to Earth. Although ghosts could cause trouble, it was believed that they could also make it easier for the Druids, the Celtic priests, to make predictions about the future. These prophecies were an important source of comfort during the long, dark winter. To celebrate Samhain, Druids built huge sacred bonfires, where people burned crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities. During the celebration, the Celtics wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortunes. By 43 AD, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of Celtic territory. Two Roman festivals were combined with the traditional Celtic celebration of Samhain. The first was Feralia, when the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. The second festival was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation of this celebration into Samhain might explain the modern-day tradition of bobbing for apples on Halloween. Our next topic is All Saints' Day and the Western Church. On May 13, 609 AD, Pope Boniface IV dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honor of all Christian martyrs and established the Catholic feast of All Martyrs' Day in the Western Church. Eventually, Pope Gregory III expanded the festival to include all saints, as well as all martyrs, and moved the observance from May 13th to November 1st, which is when All Saints' Day is celebrated today. All Saints' Day was also called All Halloween, and the night before it, October 31st, which is the traditional night of Samhain in the Celtic religion, began to be called All Hallows Eve, and eventually Halloween. In Colonial America, Halloween festivities celebrated the harvest, and neighbors would share the stories of the dead, tell fortunes and ghost stories, dance, and sing. Halloween wasn't annually celebrated until the second half of the 19th century, when many immigrants, especially the Irish fleeing the Irish potato famine, came to America and popularized the holiday. Now, Halloween is celebrated in a variety of ways, one of the most popular being trick-or-treating. The tradition of dressing in costume for the Halloween holiday has both European and Celtic roots. Remember how we talked about how the Celtics wore animal heads and skins to celebrate Samhain? This was to avoid being recognized by the ghosts that crossed into the living world. In 993 AD, England, on All Souls' Day, poor people would visit the houses of wealthier families and receive pastries called soul cakes in exchange for a promise to pray for the souls of the homeowner's dead relatives. The distribution of soul cakes was encouraged by the church as a way to replace the ancient practice of leaving food and wine for roaming spirits. Known as souling, the practice was later taken up by young people. And eventually, rather than pledging to pray for the dead, the children would sing a song, recite a poem, tell a joke, or perform another sort of trick before collecting their treat. The practice of trick-or-treating was revived between 1920 and 1950 because it was a relatively inexpensive way for an entire community to share the Halloween celebration, and families hoped they could avoid tricks being played on them by providing the neighborhood children with small treats. Trick-or-treating is so popular that Americans spend an estimated $6 billion annually on Halloween, making it the country's second largest commercial holiday after Christmas. Do you remember trick-or-treating when you were younger? What was your favorite costume? I remember that once I was a ballerina and another time I was Little Red Riding Hood. Another Halloween tradition is carving jack-o'-lanterns. The practice originated in Ireland, where large turnips and potatoes served as early canvases. In fact, the name Jackolantern comes from an Irish folktale about a man named Stingy Jack. Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him, but he didn't want to pay for the drink. Stingy Jack convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin that Jack could use to buy their drinks. But once the devil did so, Jack kept the money and put it in his pocket next to a silver cross, preventing the devil from changing back to his original form. Jack freed the devil under the condition that he wouldn't bother Jack for 1 year, and that should Jack die, he would not claim his soul. Jack even ended up running into the devil again and winning another bet. When Stingy Jack died, God would not allow such an unsavory figure into heaven, and the devil couldn't allow Jack into hell. So, the devil sent Jack off into the dark night with a burning coal to light his way. Jack put the coal into a carved-out turnip and has been roaming the earth with it ever since. In Ireland and Scotland, people began to make their own versions of Jack's lanterns by carving scary faces into turnips or potatoes and placing them into windows or doors to frighten away Stingy Jack and other wandering evil spirits. Pumpkins, a fruit native to America, were found to make perfect jack-o'-lanterns, and pumpkin carving has been a tradition ever since. Have you ever carved a jack-o'-lantern? It can be pretty difficult if you get a big pumpkin, but it's really fun. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the history of Halloween and its modern traditions. I encourage you to leave a comment if you've enjoyed this video, or to let us know what you thought about this topic. Don't forget to push that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next video. Have a great day and an even better Halloween.